Today, Dr. Mensa Otabil talks about the 4 things you should do if you want to win in life. Keep watching.
Who wins on earth? And that's what we're looking at. Who wins in the battle of life? Who wins on earth? And that's what the part 4 is all about. So go to Matthew chapter 5 and verse 5. And it reads, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Shocking, isn't it? Because if you are following Jesus Christ and you are one of the disciples on the mountain, everything Jesus is saying is blessed. It's things you would say are not blessed. He talks about the poor in spirit, but he says they will inherit the kingdom of heaven. The mourners, they will be comforted. Now he comes to earth. How do we win on earth? How do we gain? How do we become blessed on earth? And he says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Now, if you listen carefully, it will seem like Jesus is a bit confused, because meekness is not something we consider as useful for winning on earth. But Jesus says it is. So we would try to find the way Jesus sees meekness and how it helps us to inherit the earth. So let's look at the 2 words, key words there, which is meek and inherit. Meek. It means to be gentle. It means to be humble. It means to be yielded or surrendered. Submissive or submitted. It refers to a person who has surrendered or yielded themselves to something. So the main idea behind meek is something that is not wild, but under control. Normally in the word that is translated there, praus, and in the Greek, when it is used for animals, it means or it refers to an animal that has been tamed. So when Jesus talks about people who are meek, he's talking about those who are not wild, those who are not out of control, those who are under control, yielded, submissive, or tame. And depending on how you look at it, you may not think that it's a very good thing. Especially if you lived in the Roman world of Jesus Christ, because the Roman world was a conquering world. They loved courage, bravery, going to war, fighting, conquering, subjugating. So if Jesus says his disciples who are meek are going to win in this world, how are they going to win against people with swords? Blessed are the meek. The second word is the word inherit. It means to take possession or to seize something. So the idea behind the word inherit is to take your portion, take what is yours, seize what is yours. It is used to describe how the children of Israel took possession of the promised land. So if you look at the 2 words, the meek and inherit, they don't seem to go together. Because logically speaking, if you are meek, you don't inherit. And if you inherit, you are not meek. Because nobody would associate meekness with taking possession. It's like opposites. And taking possession with meekness. Because in our world, if somebody is meek, we'll say, don't be a fool. You have to fight for your right. And Jesus says, you will get your right, but you're not going to fight for it. You're going to get it through meekness. Are you ready to explore what Jesus meant? Because that's how you and I are trained. If you were in Ghana during the early 1980s, around 1982, there was a phrase that was popular. It actually was being sung many times. It was, arise Ghana workers to fight for your right. We no go sit down, make them chitui every day. In other words, we're not going to sit down for somebody to cheat us. Take what is yours. But Jesus is saying the opposite. You will get what is yours, but how are you going to get it? With meekness. Jesus, how do we live this life? So we're going to explore deeper what Jesus means by meekness and how the meek will end up inheriting not heaven, but the earth. The earth. The things of the earth are going to be inherited by the meek. So the question we ask ourselves is, who are the meek? Whom does Jesus have in mind when he says the meek shall inherit the kingdom, or shall inherit the earth? Which group of people does he have in mind? Well, obviously, he's talking to his disciples because his disciples are around him, and he's telling them the meek shall inherit the earth. So, in a sense, we can say his disciples are supposed to be included in the meek. And it is true. The disciples of Jesus were from the lowest level of society. Most of them had come from Galilee, which is in the backside of the Judean society. The Judeans, or the Jews, are under the mighty Roman Empire. They are a conquered people. They are a subjugated people. And as I said last week, there are two groups of people in Israel at that time. Those who feel we have to take up arms and fight for our right, and those who feel we have to pray and trust God to make things well for us. So who are the meek here? Is Jesus talking about his disciples who are disadvantaged in life? I believe so, but I think he's talking more beyond the disciples. He's also talking about himself, because Jesus also described himself as meek. Matthew chapter 11, verse 29 and 30, and Matthew 21, verse 5. So, Matthew 11, 29, 30, talking to his disciples, you remember in earlier, he says, come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, I'll give you rest, and so on and so forth. Now, verse 29, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. What are we supposed to learn? For I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Other translations will say, for I am meek and lowly in heart. The word that is translated in the New King James Version as gentle is the same word that is translated as meek in Matthew 5:5. So Jesus is saying, I am meek. I am meek. I am lowly in heart. Learn from me, and you'll find rest for your souls. It will be cool for you. Then Matthew chapter 21, verse 5. When Jesus enters Jerusalem in the triumphant entry, they remember that it is fulfilling a prophecy, and it says, tell the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming to you lowly and sitting on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey. The same word translated lowly here is the same word translated meek. So you find Jesus is meek. He's meek. And actually he tells his disciples, learn it from me. Learn meekness from me. And if you do that, you will inherit the earth. Seems to be contradictory, but since it's Jesus, it must be the truth. Isn't it? All right. So, looking at Jesus as meek, and he says we should learn from him, what then? How do we understand meek? First, the meek refers to those who can bear a heavy burden without breaking. He says, learn of me, for my yoke, take my yoke upon yourself. My yoke is easy. In other words, a yoke is a burden, but he's saying my burden is light. So who are the meek? Those who can bear heavy burdens without breaking. Meek people carry heavy loads, but have a way of carrying a burden that when you look at them, you would think it is light. They carry themselves and their burdens in a way that makes it appear as if they have no burden whatsoever. The meek, therefore, are great burden bearers. They can carry load. And when they carry the load and you look at them, you would think life is cool. You know, it's like seeing a woman in carrying a heavy load, maybe of fruits or farm products, and the baby is behind her, and she's peeling an orange and eating the orange and conversing at the same time. And you look at it and wonder, isn't that a load? It is a load. But she carries it as if it's nothing. That is the picture of meekness. Meek people don't go about saying, life is hard, oh, life is hard, oh, we can't bear it, oh. Meek people take the yoke of life and they say, I carry it with dignity, I carry it with honor, my burden does not break me. And Jesus says, learn from me, my burden doesn't break. Because you know, one of the things we go through in life is when we make everything in life super heavy. And we complain about everything. Everything is impossible. But he says, learn from me, see how I bear my burden, because it's easy. So that's the first way we discover who is meek. Those who can bear heavy burdens without breaking. Secondly, those who are high and mighty, but yet act humbly. Jesus is the King of Kings, but he says, your king comes to you lowly. The meek people are not show-offs. They don't go about bragging about how powerful they are, how many degrees they have, what they have achieved. They don't go about just strutting their stuff. You see a meek person, and you would wonder, is he truly what he says he is? You know, some of the most powerful people on earth, if you meet them, you may not think they are the people you've read about. Some of the richest people on earth, if you meet them, you think they will be draped in gold from head to toe. But they will just wear some sneakers and some t-shirt, and they own more than your country. And you who comes from a poor country, you have gold from head to toe. The meek handle their greatness with humility. The meek handle power with humility. The meek handle strength with humility. They carry a burden with ease. They handle power with dignity and humility. And Jesus says, that's the meek I'm talking about. And he says, these are the people who rule the world. Third definition of meek, those who sacrifice their self-interest for something greater. Meekness is associated with self-control. It's not impulsive. The meek do not act or react impulsively. They are not wild. They're able to tame themselves. Now, when you have that in mind, you can understand some things Jesus said. When Jesus says, somebody slaps you on one cheek. Let me ask you a question. Which is easier? Somebody slaps you on one cheek, slapping him back and turning the other cheek. Which one is tougher? Slapping him back is the easiest one because that is the natural reaction. But the person who is meek doesn't act in a predictable way. He acts in a way that confuses you. He does something totally based on his choice, not on your action. And Jesus is saying, those who are meek, they shall inherit the earth. If you want to inherit the earth, he's telling us the way to do it. You want to be powerful on earth? He's telling us the way to do it. You want to get to the highest point in the earth? He's telling us, you have to learn to bear your burdens without breaking. Take your yoke. You have to learn to be humble even though you are high and mighty. And you have to learn to sacrifice the immediate for the future. So now we know the meek. May I ask the question, how many of us really think we are meek? The meek person is not a soft person. He's a hard person. You know, there is a game they've been playing, and once in a while, you know, I see it on social media feeds. About there's a slapping contest. Have you seen those things? Yeah. You stand and you get slapped and you slap the other one until somebody falls. And sometimes you find people who can take the heftiest slap. Their hand is behind them. You hit them, boom, a slap, and they just look at you in the face. And you hit them again, they look at you in the face. That's a meek person. That's meekness. That's meekness. They take all that the world throws against them, but they're still standing. They're still standing. So how do the meek inherit the earth? How do they do it? Now, the words of Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 5, verse 5, Jesus didn't just say them out of nowhere. He's pulling them from the Psalms, from Psalm 37, and we'll look at a couple of verses in Psalm 37. But Psalm 37 is a very, very interesting psalm because it's a psalm of David, and it is said that David wrote this psalm, Psalm 37, in his old age, at the end of his life. He's gone through all kinds of things. He has seen all kinds of stuff, and David is talking about the wicked and the righteous. And he's telling people, don't fret, don't worry when you see the wicked prosper, and don't think that God has forgotten about you, because you will look for the wicked and you will not find them. And he talks about all kinds of ways to deal with that dichotomy between wickedness and righteousness. Psalm 37, go home, read the whole psalm. But I'm going to pick a couple of verses in Psalm 37 relevant to Matthew 5:5. Okay, Psalm 37 verse 9 to 11. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait on the Lord shall inherit the earth. You see that phrase there. Verse 10. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall be no more. Indeed, you will look carefully for his place, but it shall be no more. Verse 11. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. So this is where Jesus is speaking it from. The meek shall inherit the earth. Verse 22 of Psalm 37. For those blessed by him shall inherit the earth, but those cursed by him shall be cut off. So you can say that the third beatitude is a summary of Psalm 37. If you want to understand, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, go and read the whole of Psalm 37, because it is a summary of that psalm, of how the righteous wins in life. But a few thoughts here. How does the meek inherit the earth? One, by trusting in the triumph of God's justice. The meek trust that God is just. They trust that God has set a principle in the world that the just will win at the end. And those who are blessed by God, who are meek, will always win in the end. All human cultures instinctively and by observation have concluded that wickedness doesn't win. That there is a system of justice in the world, and that system of justice always wins. It is told in every storybook. It is told in every movie you watch. It is told everywhere. It's almost ridiculous to see a movie or a story where the bad guy wins. No matter how a story goes, in the end, we see the good guy winning. Why is it that human beings think that way? Because God has programmed that reality into the world, that his justice would always triumph. Don't ever think that injustice will win. Because if you do that, you will break under the burden and the weight of what you are going through. But if you know that justice will always win, though the burden is heavy, you are able to hold it. The just is going to win. The meek will inherit the earth. God's justice will prevail. And the meek are people who have come to this conclusion. Jesus is talking to disciples who are under Roman subjugation, to his disciples, and he's telling them, you will inherit the earth. Now, if you were there listening to Jesus Christ talking to these hapless disciples, you think, oh, this is another crazy lunatic promising people something he cannot deliver. But if you waited a little than maybe 300 years, you will realize that this meek truly inherited the earth. The Roman Empire fell, and these disciples of Jesus are still the ones reigning up to now. The meek truly inherited the earth. They didn't break. When there was persecution, lions were eating them. They were being killed. Their heads were being cut off. Their bodies were being sundered asunder. The meek stood strong. They didn't bow. They carried their burden through. And those who do that will see God's justice prevailing. Secondly, the weak wins by knowing how to enjoy what they have. The psalm says the meek are those who have learned to enjoy and delight themselves in the abundance of peace. When a person is truly meek, they learn to enjoy when they have nothing. When life is at the zero, they are still happy. Everything's taken away from them, they're still happy. The early Christians were the most amazing people. They were being persecuted, but they were the happiest people. The Romans couldn't understand it. Lions are eating them, they are singing in the Colosseum. They are being butchered, they are forgiving. You go to them, they enjoy life. They're not bitter. They're not angry. They're not full of venom and vile bitterness. They know how to enjoy what they have. If you're meek, you're going to enjoy what you have. Even what you have is just a cup of tea with no milk, with no sugar. You're going to drink it as if you are drinking gold and silver. Even if the shoe you are wearing has holes in it, you're going to wear it as if you are wearing Cinderella's slippers. Because one of the greatest gifts of life is to enjoy life when life is hitting you like crazy. Learn to enjoy your life. Enjoy your days. Enjoy what you have. The meek are not comparing themselves with what other people have. They say, I have it, I enjoy it. Enjoy your wife. Not the wife somebody else has. Let your eyes see your wife of 30 years and say, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. That's meekness. But when your eyes are going creak, crack, you are not meek and you will not inherit the earth. Your life will be full of bitterness. You may have all the wealth and be so unhappy. The meek are those who know how to enjoy what they have. They delight themselves in the abundance of peace. And the meek are those who win by remaining steadfast and outlasting the wicked. The verse 10 says, for yet a little while, and the wicked shall be no more. Indeed, you will look carefully for his place, and they shall be no more. The meek will outlast the wicked. Just like the disciples of Jesus Christ outlasted the Roman Empire. They outlasted them. They outlived them. For a moment, they seemed to be the losers, but they stayed firm. You have to learn to outlive that which wants to destroy you. Outlive it. Outlive the wicked who has sworn your defeat. And you would say, I would live, and I would not die. And I will live because I would outlive wickedness. Don't ever let wickedness take you to an early grave. Don't be so angry and frustrated with somebody that you think life is not worth living. That is not meekness, that is arrogance. You're showing you don't trust God. You don't trust God's system. You don't trust God's process. The meek inherits the earth because they remain steadfast and they outlast the evildoers. And finally, they enjoy the earth because they wait patiently to receive their reward from the Lord. There is a reward of God. There is favor of God. There is the blessing of God. And it's coming. Wait for it. It's coming. Don't allow the weight of what you're carrying to crush you. You're going to carry it a little longer. You're going to carry it with joy. Even if you don't have anything, you're going to enjoy nothing. Beautiful things Jesus taught us. Let us enjoy the birds of the air, the flowers. If you have nothing, get up in the morning, early morning, 5:30. Stand out of your house for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, doing nothing. Enjoy the sound of birds. Pick a flower. Admire it. You say, life is hard, I don't have time for flower. That's why you are losing. That's why you are losing. Because you don't have time to enjoy anything. You don't have time to sit down and enjoy music or to enjoy conversation with somebody, to enjoy a friend, to enjoy a visit, to have your small bowl of food in front of you, a big ball of kenke with just pepper and no fish. But you eat it as if you are eating caviar and you are eating the best meal. You take that kenke, put it in the pepper, and you smell it and say, the sound, the smell of fresh corn. Enjoy life. That's what he's saying. Because there are moments in life that gives you the strength to keep going. And that moment is when you say, I have nothing but I trust God's judgment. They want to cheat me, but I trust God's judgment. And I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going to stay alive because I will see the reward of God in the end. And Jesus says, those who are that, they shall inherit the earth. Of course, Jesus himself inherited the earth. His disciples inherited the earth. The Roman Empire became a kingdom, a part of the Church of Jesus Christ. Truly, the meek inherited the earth. And truly, you will also inherit. But if you're full of bitterness, anger, you can't enjoy life. Your whole life is poisoned. You've poisoned yourself with hatred. So much hatred you can't eat. You are losing weight because of hatred. You're full of so much hatred. There are people you see their face and you go into spasms. You are shaking because you saw somebody's face on the TV, or you saw somebody pass by you and you see them and you're so angry and you're so worked up, and now you can't even enjoy your life. Your life is miserable. If you do that, you will be defeated on earth. Blessed are the meek. Who are the meek? Those who are like me, who know how to bear the yoke, know how to bear the burden, know how to enjoy life. And what's going to happen to them? They will be the winners in the end. Check all the major stories of the world in every culture. Check every culture story, and that truth will stand out. The meek always inherit the earth. Cinderella always marries the prince. She is the meek. She never gives up, forgives her stepmothers, stepdaughters, and stepsisters, and so on and so forth. And she marries the prince. The meek always inherit the earth. That's the story of life. But that story is linked up directly to the words of Jesus Christ. If you are one of those meek people today, and somebody thinks you are going to be destroyed, remember, God has destined you to be a winner. And you're going to win at the end of the game. You're going to enjoy the earth.
The core scripture was taken from Matthew 5, verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Meek means to be gentle, humble, and submissive. Inherit means to take possession or to seize. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you find rest for your soul. Those who are meek are those who can bear heavy burdens without breaking. Those who are high and mighty yet act humbly are the meek. Those who are meek are those who sacrifice their self-interest for something greater. Psalm 37 verse 9 says, For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait on the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and delight themselves in the abundance of peace. How does the meek inherit the earth? 1. By trusting in the triumph of God's justice. 2. The meek wins by knowing how to enjoy what they have. 3. The meek wins by remaining steadfast and outlasting the evildoers. 4. The meek waits patiently to receive their reward from the Lord. Thank you so much for your time. Please like, share, or subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.